Hey guys, it's your girl Ty back again with another Billionaire Brain episode. If you are new, welcome. Thank you for joining the journey, watching me on the journey. And if you are returning, welcome back. And thank you for being a part of the Billionaire Brain mindset. So, I have been trying to keep these videos short, but it is so hard. Like, you don't realize how much you have to say until like it just starts coming out. So I'm going to try to keep these videos to a minimum, but we'll see. So I want to begin this video asking you guys, as a kid, did anyone around you ever say to you, oh, don't hang out with this person, they're bad news, or watch the company you keep, or they're a bad influence? If so, as a child, you can understand how annoying that was, because my parents said that to me. How annoying that was, because you're like, I don't get influenced. Like what? Like what are we talking about? Like at that point it just seemed like it was control. However, looking back at it now as an adult, I feel like I can understand the depth of that. And I say this because if you think about it, watch the company that you keep as an adult, it hits different. So if you haven't guessed by now, this episode is going to be based on our environment and how our environment can impact our, not just our decisions, but the way we think and us achieving our goals and our mindsets, really. So I just want to start by saying you can have the best goals, you can have everything mapped out, you can have the best mindset, you can have all of that. But if you are surrounded by people who are not in alignment with you and your journey, you will most likely stay stagnant and it will sabotage your journey to your success. So, there are three layers to this. You have your physical environment, you have your digital environment, and you have your social environment. And our physical environment is really the space around us, right? Like your bedroom, your office, just your living headquarters. If your physical environment is not tidy, or it doesn't even have to be tidy, but if your physical environment displays chaos, then that probably I can't even say the word, equivalent to how your life is. Um it resembles what's going on in your life. And I feel like I can attest to this to a certain extent because when my room is messy, I feel very much anxious. I feel very much like I can't, I have to clean this, I have to get this done. When I clean the room, it's more, um, I feel like a weight is lifted off of my shoulders. And so I do feel like I can understand the concept of our physical environment having a impact on our goals and our success, simply because, right, if you can't think properly in your safe space, then how can you plan out your goals and things like that? So our physical environment is definitely one that is very important when it comes to creating and building your success. Secondly is our digital environment. And of course, we are in the age of technology, right? So we spend a lot of time on our phones, bro. We have AI now. I'm sure half of us, or more than half of us, is on Chat GPT. I know we're on social media, whether you have a business or not, you're always just scrolling on social media. And so your digital environment plays a big role in your goals, right? Because the higher your dopamine, that boost of dopamine that we get from scrolling and seeing things, can impact us by distracting us, right? We spend time scrolling so much that we forget what we're supposed to do, or we'll be working and start scrolling and get distracted. So, our digital environment is very much important. also something to think about is when you're scrolling on your phone, what is it that you're feeling when you're absorbing the content, right? Like, what does your feed or your algorithm look like? Because, like, not for nothing, I love me some tea, but when I think about it, the Diddy trial, what is that doing for my life? Like, right? It's not really feeding me any knowledge. It's not doing anything for me. Whereas if I'm following a content creator or someone who is on their success journey, um, and doing the things that I feel like I want in my life, it becomes more invigorating and more motivating to do. So, like, I feel inspired every time I see someone like, oh, I'm on my millionaire journey at 30 years old. Like, what? That is so rare. And so I find myself really gravitating more to that content now as I'm on my journey and realizing like, hey, I could do this too. Like, this is not out of the ordinary. It's possible. Um but then again, like I said, when your algorithm is showing you Diddy trials, it's like, how is that helping me mentally, right? Like, where's my motivation and inspiration for this? Um, Now, I'm not saying that the content that we are consuming when it comes to, these entrepreneurs is always accurate. There are a lot of people who scam on the internet, on social media, who flex. And so I wouldn't believe everything that I hear. However, seeing it, it does spark a little fire under you. Now, the one thing to really be careful with when it comes to your digital environment is using someone as inspiration versus comparison. I think that social media has played a huge role in how we live our lives now because a lot of people are comparing themselves to somebody else's life. And there's definitely a boundary and a fine line between the two. Um, you can see what someone has, and you can say, hey, that's in alignment with what I want. Like, I aspire to be that. However, to sit here and say I want that person's life and try to do it step by step, or making yourself feel bad because you don't have that what they have, that's where it goes wrong, because you're making yourself feel this way when you don't even know what it took for that person to get to where they're at. And honestly, we don't even know if they're happy where they're at, right? Like, ultimately, success is more than just a number, it's more than just a dollar amount. And so when you see someone else's life on social media, you don't even know what the heck is going on with them. And so that's why our digital environment is very important. You have to consume to a certain extent, and use it as your tool for success versus your manipulator and your way of sabotaging what you want and your goals. And then lastly, like I said, is our social environment, which is probably the hardest one because as human beings, we have emotions, right? And if the people around us that we love, right, that we grew up with, they're just toxic people, it can definitely hinder your success and your goals. It can sabotage you. And I'm not saying that, you shouldn't be around people that you love and care about, even though they're toxic, but it's more so about putting yourself in a better predicament so that you can help them out. I think that we live in a society where people want to help people but haven't quite helped themselves yet. And so it just doesn't make sense because it's like, if you're drowning and I'm drowning, who's saving us? Like, who's going to help us? I cannot drown with you, right? So I think that it is very crucial to love the people that you love from afar until you get to where you need to be in life. And it does sound selfish, but sometimes you have to be selfish to a certain extent simply because you have goals to obtain. You have things that you have to do in your life, and you cannot allow somebody that you love to drag you down. And honestly, if they loved you, they wouldn't be dragging you down in the first place. So that's definitely something to think about and to keep in mind, because our family and our friends can be our biggest downfall, or they can be our biggest support system. And if you feed into that, it can distract you from your goals and sabotage the plans that you have. Um, I read this quote that said, if you're the smartest in the room, then you need to remove yourself from the room. Something along those lines. And I was like, wow, I never heard this before, but I mean, it makes sense, right? Because if you're the one teaching everybody, who's teaching you? How are you growing? Um, and it's just like they say, right? Like, if there's no table to sit at, then you need to create one. And so it's definitely imperative to your success and your rich life that you surround yourself around people who are going to motivate you and lift you up in the things that you know you want to do in life. People who are in alignment with you, it makes it so much easier, because you're not battling the conversation of them not understanding why you want to do what you want to do. And so, like I said, it's important that you just keep in mind the people that you keep around you, and how much of them, like how often you hang around them. Because if someone's life is chaos, you're going to get sucked into that chaos as well. And like I said, it can hinder you. People are reliabilities. You can love them, but they are a liability. Um, and it's just very important that that's something that you keep in mind of when you're chasing your dreams, or trying to reach your goals. Now, one thing that I can say, and I will say, and I'm going to preach it every single time, is that higher being, God, whoever you believe in, moves mountains, right? They move mountains. He moves mountains. So if you are praying for something, you will get what you're asking for, but it might not be in the way that you want it, in the form that you want it. God or the universe, they're going to give you the tools. However, it's up to you to use those tools to build. And if you are not using those tools, you're ignoring the tools to build, you're sabotaging yourself, your future, and your life. And I think this is a whole different topic, but a lot of people have a victim mindset. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, I can't do that. However, you have the opportunities right in front of you, and you're choosing not to take them. And so this is where you have to watch who's around you, right? Because if someone is constantly complaining about they don't like where they're at in life, they don't want to be there anymore, but you see that they have the tools to do so, to fix their life, to change their life, and they're not doing it, is this a person that you want around you, right? You just complain about it and don't do anything. Um, you kind of want people who are in the same space. You want to keep going. So I'm going to say this again. The tools will be there. The tools will always be there. Sometimes you might have to search. It might be a little bit harder, and everything worth having is hard. So it might be a little harder to get to where you want to be, but it's not impossible. And so if you have those tools, or you have the opportunities, and you decide not to take them, that is an opportunity missed, and that is your life that you are sabotaging. Now, before I end this, I do want to reference Atomic Habits. This is my favorite book in the whole wide world. This is where my 1% everyday mindset came from. And he talks about environment in this book. He says that we tend to imitate the habits of three different social groups: our close, the close people around us, so our family and friends; the many people around us, which is our tribe; and then the powerful, which are the elites and the people with status and prestige. So if you're imitating habits from your social, your close friends and family, and your close friends and family are not in alignment with where you want to be, why are we imitating the habits for? Why are we not breaking them? Right? Like, make it make sense. And then he also says that one of the most effective things you can do to build better habits is, one, to join a culture where your desired behavior is the normal behavior, and two, you already have something in common with the group. I haven't heard something so real before. And it's a fact, right? Be around people where what you desire is normal, right? Like, I want to be a billionaire. I want to be a millionaire. You say that around someone with the lack mentality, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. Oh, it's too hard to get there. Like, that's not even possible. That, right? But if you're with someone equally as delusional as you are when it comes to that, then you guys will both have the same mind. Then you guys will both have the same mindset of being a billionaire or a millionaire is attainable, it's achievable, let's do it. So you should be around people that the behavior that you desire or the things that you desire are considered a norm. And also someone you have something in common with. Because, like I said, conversations are a lot easier when you're speaking with someone that you guys can get along with. Like, you have something in common. For me, at this point in life, I think the gym is the biggest thing that I have in common with people. And it's so fun when you can just text someone, like, hey, let's go work out, because you know that both of you guys are on the same path. And so that's the same for everything in your life. You're going to gravitate towards people who might not be good for you, but you need to be around people who are in the same headspace that you're in, or trying to be better at the very least. And then lastly, James Clear also says that unfortunately, the environments where we live and work often make it easy not to do certain actions because there's no obvious cue to trigger the behavior. So if you don't have those cues or identifiers around you to make you feel better, or, encourage you to do better, then you probably won't do it. He says a small change in what you see can lead to a big shift in what you do. And so, for example, if you want to eat more fruit, right, put some fruit on your pantry, on the counter, so when you come downstairs in the morning, that's the first thing in your face, right? Like, you have to make the cues visible so that way you're able to do them until they become a habit. These are just small things that I took away for me in my life, my 1% better everyday journey. Um, still working on things such as, like, the social environment and stuff like that, because it is hard to try to build your tribe, especially when you're in a headspace of change, right? Like, you're transforming from the person you used to be to someone that you want to be, and that's not always easy for people. And especially if you're in a town, a small town, it's hard to find your tribe. So it does take a lot of effort, but it is so worth it in the end when you find the people who are like you, are just like, and have the same mindset, or who want to be better, like actively want to be better. Um, so yeah, I mean, this conversation ran over again, but it is a topic that I feel like we need to have more of, because our success is up to us. And the only person who can control that is us. And if we are putting ourselves in environments that sabotage where we want to be, that is nothing but our fault. We can't blame anybody for that. And yes, like I said, it might be hard. It will be hard. But in the end, it is so worth it. And so I'm going to leave it right there. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode. I hope I didn't talk too much and bore you. And in the comment below, tell me what's something in your environment that you feel you need to change, whether it's your physical, your social, or your digital environment. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.